Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland, episode 117. Ted Klopp, Ken Dworsnik. Kind of, once again, chilly, just like the last time we did this podcast. I'm not wearing the sweater like I had on, but I'm a little bundled up. Wearing pants, as usual.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Usual.
Appreciate you sharing that.
Ted, as we get past, once again, everyone's tired of talking about COVID. I'm done with that. The whole thing's done. The president announced it's done. I did hear a stat the other day, and you could confirm this or not. 45% of people during COVID gained at least 29 pounds during that time.
Well, I can confirm. I gotta think of the proper way to say this. I can confirm that at least 50% of the adults in our house gained that much.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah.
I did a good job. I don't know if I got to 29 pounds, but I didn't help the average. I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's funny that you bring up COVID. Aside from the weight gain, we were looking at different things for our kids to do, and somebody suggested, we're not going to do this, but somebody suggested we look at the Cleveland Fencing Academy.
Oh,
that is a very involved, that's a commitment.
Yes.
We're not going to do this, but I was reading the rundown of, why fencing, what does it do that's good, and it's very good exercise amongst other things. But one of the things on their website, the Cleveland Fencing Academy website, it says, last but not least, fencing is a perfect COVID-19 sport. You're in masks, gloves, layers of protective clothing, and if anybody gets closer than 6 feet to you, you stab them. So,
are you signing the kids up for fencing?
No.
Okay, we're not looking at that.
No,
I have experienced fencing. My first job was at Wayne State University, and they had a fencing team, and I had never seen fencing in my life. Mm-hmm. It is a very interesting sport.
Yeah.
Very interesting sport to say.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Ted, I know last time we were together, we were kind of disappointed about some things with Cleveland, with being on one of the lowest cities when it comes to, remind me of what that was.
It was the livability, I think, or
livability
like
is what it was. Correct.
Yeah, it was the.
Well, I found something a little bit more positive, and I will have more positive Cleveland news as we go out through this podcast. But Wallet Hub, which I think the last thing you came up with, had a survey. This one is the top 5 best summer travel where people go for different states.
Okay. So you're saying top 5 in each state?
Just the top 5 places that people travel to during the summer, the top 5 states. I find it really interesting.
Okay.
So I'll have you guess the first one. What do you think the first one is?
Well, it's got to be New York or Los Angeles or California.
Yeah, New York was 2. California did not make the top 5. Surprising.
Well, I'd say Chicago, but I don't know that anybody wants to get shot there. So Florida.
No, neither of those were on there either. That's why I brought this whole thing up.
Okay.
So number 1 was Texas.
That was going to be my next guess.
2 was New York. 3, North Carolina. That makes sense.
Yep. Number
5 was Idaho. And then number 4 was Ohio.
Really?
I couldn't believe that.
Wow.
Yeah. That's obviously positive news. And part of that is people, obviously looking at the bigger cities. So you're talking about Cincinnati, you're talking about Columbus, you're talking about Cleveland, that people are coming
absolutely.
To visit. So I thought that was very positive news.
Huh. Well, there's a ranking to be proud of. I'm sure we'll I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I guess we're going to have Jen Brasdovich from Destination Cleveland on. She'll probably have some good things for us to do in the coming month.
Oh, I imagine so.
Yeah. Did you have any rants that you wanted to let loose on before we continue the festivities?
Actually, I do. I will give on a rant. I was going to save this for later in the show, but now would be a perfect time to do this. It is a sports rant, which obviously at the end of the day means nothing.
Right.
Doing my research for the show, I always like to look at different things. So I found a post, obviously off of Instagram. That's always a great place to go to find information. And then I do the fact checking, and this actually was true.
Okay.
I saw this and I was pretty disturbed. Can you name the team that has the most NFL losses in the past 20 years?
Well,
The most.
I don't think there's. I'm going to guess that everybody else is fighting for second, because I'm pretty sure that the Browns have cornered the market on this particular award.
Done.
Yeah.
222.
Over
losses.
what time frame?
20 seasons.
20,
The last 20 seasons, they've lost 222 games.
222.
What do you think second?
That's an average of more than 10 games a year.
That's correct.
If
Well, it
you're,
doesn't help with 1 year not winning any games. And then the year before that, I think he won one.
Yeah.
So
1-31.
who's second, you think?
The Jets
It's a good guess. They're
or the
close.
Bears?
They're top 5.
The Bears?
No, they're actually farther down, surprisingly. You got to think of another city not that far from us.
Detroit.
Yes, sir. 216.
Oh, wow. They gave us a run for our money.
Yeah, we only got them by six losses. Who do you think
Yeah.
had the best record? This is the one that just makes me sick. Who had the best, most, or least amount of losses in the last 20 seasons?
In the last 20 seasons, probably the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers are second.
New England.
Oh, yes. 92 losses.
Yeah.
92. We have 222 to 92.
That's 130 more if you're.
I don't really want to say much more. I want people to think about that.
Okay.
That's all I got. That's my sports rant. Our team's been bad for a while. At some point, I'd love to be better. This maybe could be the year, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Thank you.
Just figured I'd take a moment to let that kind of sink in here.
Let it sink in. Yep. Sobering.
All right, coming up on this week's show, a man dreams of a burglary and wakes up with a gunshot wound. We're going to explain how that happened in Klopp's Klips. What requires stilettos and takes less than 13 seconds? The answer to that is in Overachievers. I'm sure you're curious about that, Ken. In Cleveland history, we remember an infamous Cleveland fire, and not the one on the Cuyahoga River. No, this involved a local leader's hair. Do you know how long Cleveland's baseball team has been on the radio? Well, we have the answer in Cleveland sports. We've got all that, and we've got much, much more.
And now, a woman's perspective.
How do you know the handprint on the wet paint was left by a man? Because they can't look and not touch.
This has been a woman's perspective.
Time for Kids Talk. And there's only one person I could think of that we could have Kids Talk with, and that would be the Cleveland kid, Mr. Colin Forgach. Colin, thanks for joining us today. It's been a while since we've talked to you. I guess very quickly, how did the school year end for you, and how's lacrosse going? I know that's your big sport right now.
School's pretty good, ended pretty well. Lots of fun at the end. Lacrosse went pretty well too. Ended our last tournament losing in the championship, but had a really good weekend. So it was lots of fun, yes.
Good for you, as probably carry that momentum into the fall with some other things that you're doing. Well, today we want to talk about some professional sports. You, of course, follow professional sports very well. I wanted to start with one that's certainly getting a little bit of run right now, but not a ton, is NBA basketball, specifically one of your favorite teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So who
Oh,
finished
yeah.
51-31 last year, fourth in the East, lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Knicks. First of all, I guess your thoughts. Not had a chance to get your thoughts, but your thoughts at the end of the year, and how did you feel the Cavs finished?
I think at the start of the season, what the Cavs did was exactly what I wanted them to do, which make it to the first round. I just wanted them to not be in the play-in. I wanted them to make it to the first round, especially in the 4 seed with the 4-5 game, like ranked. That was a big those. I mean, it's the hardest series, obviously. At the start of the year, that's what I wanted them to make. But when I saw how good they were playing with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and all of them, I realized that we can do a lot better than that. So at the end of the year, when it came down to it, we got eliminated. It hurt a lot. When it comes down to the end of it, we improved tremendously from the year before, and I think I'm actually pretty happy with how we played.
I think that's a pretty good answer. So the Cavs went into the draft. They only had one draft pick, which was in the second round. They picked a guy by the name of Amani Bates from Eastern Michigan, 6'9", weighs 180 pounds. I think I outweigh him by about 50 pounds, I think. Not sure if he'll be a immediate addition. He did average like 19 points a game in college.
Yeah.
He was a very good high school player coming out of the Michigan area, and then he finished his career in Eastern Michigan. But I think he'll probably play for the Cleveland Charge. My question for you is not to talk about Amani Bates, but off-season moves. Obviously, I think they signed Lamar Stevens. They got to figure out what they want to do with Karis LeVert. What additions do you feel this team needs to make, maybe to move to the next level? So what would their next goal be? Eastern Conference Finals, second round of the playoffs? Your thoughts?
I think because of how young our team is, and yeah, Donovan Mitchell is probably one of the oldest players on our team, but we still signed into a good contract. I think if every single year we were able to get in a higher round every single year, I think that would be great. If we can make it either to the second round of the Eastern Conference Finals next year, I think that's looking amazing. I think that is what I want us to do as a team.
Well, that's a pretty good goal. You know, I think people were very surprised finishing fourth in the East. I think the expectation level of what they had rose because the team was playing so well. But I think they might have, I'm not saying put the cart before the horse, but I just don't think they're quite at that level as some of those other teams, Milwaukee and Boston, the Sixers and all that stuff. And
no way.
I think they kind of showed some of the deficiencies they had in the Knicks game, which is toughness. Obviously, guys like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley really had trouble down there in the post. And I just do think they need some help. What would you do for a post person for a backup? What you know the NBA extremely well. What type of player would you want? Do you have a name in mind who would be great to have?
Not about a specific name, but I think for sure something we need is a player that will always start for us at small forward. That is like, see, Karis LeVert was a great small forward, but the problem is he's still meant to be a guard, so he wasn't always a great small forward. Okoro really showed how he is a small forward by the end of the year. He played great at the end of the year, and I was really happy with his performance. But if he can't play like how he played at the end of the year round, I think we need to find somebody that's like Darius Garland, but at the small forward position that is able to always play small forward. They don't get like benched or something out of the starting job. Because we were always mixing around their small forward because they never could find a specific one. And my second thing I think we need, Jared Allen is amazing. And I think he is one of the best centers in the NBA, if you ask me. The problem is when you get into the playoffs, you need somebody that he's too nice with the basketball. We need somebody more mean that is able to play with so much higher of an intensity. He's just too nice, and I think that's our biggest problem.
That's good thoughts. I think the Cavs certainly found that out. So we will see. And things, once again, tip off for basketball. Not too far away, if you think about it. We're going to September. They begin things in October, so we'll see how that goes. We're going to switch sports on you now. I like to keep you on your toes here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cleveland Browns, another team that you follow pretty well. Once again, we're in the off season. Camp is coming up. They went through the draft. They've had some free agency. On paper, let's be honest, Colin, this looks like a really good team. They've improved at every position. What's your thoughts here in the preseason?
I'm actually really excited. I think running backs always looking strong with Nick Chubb. I mean, Elijah Moore, that was a really exciting pick for me. I've always liked Elijah Moore just for some reason, and I was really excited to get him. Just because I think we need a bump up. See, we have Amari Cooper, who is obviously an amazing wide receiver, but Donovan Peoples-Jones sometimes will have bad games. And I think we need to find somebody that's more of a speedy guy, because Amari Cooper is just a bigger body, but we need somebody that's a speed guy that is still able to come down with the ball, because Donovan Peoples-Jones sometimes can have amazing games, but other times he dips down tremendously in random games. So I think those were big pickups. So the guys from the wide receiver that we got in the draft from Tennessee, Cedric Tillman, that was a great pickup, I think. I think he was injured during the college year, but he was a great player when he did play. Tennessee also just had an amazing year this year, and he helped partially of that. And I think that was a great pickup. Defense obviously upgraded with Zadarius Smith.
He's one of the best defensive ends you could pick up at this point in time. He gets a ton of sacks. He should help.
Yes, I think that was a great pickup. We didn't get him for it was kind of a steal too. We did not trade him for much at all. Really happy with that trade. And you can obviously see the Browns, the only scary part is that we're putting so much in that in a few years, cap is going to hurt us probably soon, but it's just we're going all in right now. And I think that's one of our biggest things, is that we're going all in right now. So it's either we're going to make it super, super far, or we're going to lose everything and we're destroyed in 3 years. And it's really hard to do that this year, because Watson, obviously, I think he's an amazing quarterback. I think he's going to be great the year coming up. But we don't know that, because he did not show great signs of that last season. It's scary going it all in, because the quarterback obviously runs the entire team. If we don't have a good quarterback, you won't win a Super Bowl. So that's the only scary part, is we don't know how he's going to play. But if he plays great, Super Bowl could be ours.
I think they have the talent. I really do. I think these are good points, Colin. And the other part too, obviously, besides the players, I do like their coaching staff a lot. They brought in, I know one guy that they brought in, I think you should be very pleased about. And it's not for the offensive side, but for the defense, it's Jim Schwartz. I think he'll be great. You got Alex Mandel working with your head coach to call plays. And then he brought in a new special teams guy. Certainly it's on paper, your coaching staff has improved. So you got all these different things, but well said when it comes down to the quarterback play. That's where it's at. If the quarterback plays well, I think you have a great season. If he struggles, I think you're right. We might be in trouble. We'll see. Prediction right now. How many wins?
I've been saying
on paper, but what do you think?
I've been saying 10-7 the entire offseason. I think 10-7 or 11-6 in that range.
I definitely think they can do that. Still in a tough division. And you open up with Cincinnati, Joe Burrow and all that. It's never easy, but I agree with you. I completely agree.
We have a huge chance of winning the division, though. If we can play like how our roster shows, a huge chance of winning the division.
Yep. And I think they're going to get the proper coaching and all that. Certainly on the defensive side that they'd be looking for. All right, we'll switch gears again. Guardians, your thoughts?
Yeah.
They're in probably one of the crappiest divisions in baseball. They're finding a way to win games. When we record this podcast, which is Monday, they're coming off a loss to the Brewers in extra innings. What's your thoughts so far? Just on the Indians, or I should say the Guardians overall. Your thoughts?
I'm going to start with the best points, I think, right now. Ramirez breaking every record right now. Or not breaking, but hiring. He's playing amazing right now. But he has 16 home runs right now, I think. Last time I checked, he is playing tremendous. And Steven Kwan, that's my guy. He always figures out a way to get on base. That is his number one thing, and that's why I love him. If you ever need to get him on base, he will get on base for you. Naylor really stepped up. At the start of the year, he was struggling tremendously and has really got better. And it's just, I feel like our team batting-wise some players have got so much better. Like Naylor has helped his average so much. But it's just we still just can't get the job done. And our defense is great. Our defense is one of the best in the league, I'd probably say, especially the infield. It's just we just can't get the job done ever. It's just little things.
Yep. So it's just a struggle scoring runs. And obviously yesterday's game was frustrating. You get to extra innings, have opportunities, and got some interesting calls going against them and all that stuff. Playoff team, you think they make the playoffs? That's a tough one. I know. I kind of threw a zinger at you. I've kind of gone through this in my head. I'm not sure. I don't know.
No more than wild card.
Yeah,
if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, great sports talk on the professional side. Now I need an update. you're heading into 7th grade. Talk about
Yeah.
what things you're expecting in 7th grade, and then what you have coming up in the fall, sports-wise.
For 7th grade, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, every single year, I mean, I know a lot of the people that were in 7th grade, and I could probably ask them, but I just go in open-minded every year thinking that maybe this will be a good year.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What sports will you be playing in the fall? What do you got?
I will have just football.
Very cool. Now, what league are you playing in football?
Like, I was playing in CYO for St. Joe's. That fell through just because we lost so many people in just like a 3-year span. We went from having like 8 teams to 3 teams.
Jeez.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So, we can't do that anymore. So the CYO fell through. Like last year when I played in the 5th, 6th grade league, we played in like the rec league. Like now that I'm in 7th and 8th grade team, we play for more just like there isn't really a championship. We kind of just play and we just play like different teams around like our area.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
Mhm.
Position, where are you playing?
Last year I played left tackle and defensive end, but
Okay.
mainly guard, tackle, and D-line. Yeah.
Well, Kyle, appreciate the time. Last question. I know you're a big fan of jerseys.
Mhm.
I know you like it for all different sports. Who is someone's jersey that you want to get? And actually, quickly tell our listeners you had an opportunity to meet a professional lacrosse player. Talk about that story for us.
So when I was in Columbus for my last lacrosse tournament, so the PLL, the Professional Lacrosse League, was hosting, Ohio State was hosting them the entire weekend. And there's 8 teams, there's 4 games. I went to 3 of the games. The one game I was playing during that day. So my games were Saturday and Sunday. The PLL was Friday, Saturday. So I went to both the games on Friday. That was lots of fun. I met a lot of players, like, because after the game, if you sprint over to their sideline, they're like usually all like signing autographs. But then Saturday, after my first games were over, we went over to the fields. And that was when my favorite team was playing, the Whip Snakes. I got to meet my favorite player, my idol, Matt Rambo. Shout out. It was super cool. Like I had a good, decent conversation with him. He was a super cool guy, especially because he had a really good game. Had 4 goals, 3 assists.
Wow.
Played great.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's
So yeah,
cool.
that was cool.
That's cool. You got an autograph?
Yeah, what did I get? Oh, I had 23 autographs from the weekend. So all different players.
That's outstanding.
I met Ohio State's lacrosse coach. That was cool.
That is cool.
Coach Myers.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
very jealous. I'm living in your world right now because I don't get to meet anybody. I just kind of hang out and talk on this podcast. It's my way of reaching out to people. Well, Colin, thanks again. The Cleveland kid joining us to give us his sports talk. Colin will probably be talking to you as the fall begins, football season, all that. Browns get some games under their belt. We'll get you back on to get your thoughts, and we'll see what happens. Hoping for a winning year.
Of course, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Colin.
Of course.
Ted, we have some good news. Jemima, the
He's
tortoise.
gonna say, yeah.
I didn't think I know I wasn't going to say that.
Does she have an aunt that makes syrup?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But Jemima is back at home in England.
Okay.
The 50-year-old made a slow getaway, surprising, from a home 2 years ago, and the Waddle family spent months looking for her. They had all but given up until a couple weeks ago when a Facebook post turned up about the discovery of a tortoise, which was taken to a vet. Her identity was confirmed, and she was reunited with her family. The family does note that the tortoises move a lot quicker than you might think. That is crazy. 2 years? Wow.
Am I the only one who thinks it's ironic that the tortoise made a slow getaway from the Waddle family?
Oh, gosh. No, that's well done, by the way. Ted, we have some good news.
Time for another Cleveland history lesson. We welcome our Cleveland historian, John Grabowski. And John, a hot topic here, no pun intended. We want to talk about when, as if we hadn't been kicked down enough with other things catching fire, the mayor's hair, Ralph Perk's hair, caught on fire. Tell us about where and when this happened and all the gory details.
Oh gosh, well, it happened on September 21st, 1972. And, Ralph had it's in his first year of the mayor. He would serve 3 terms. It was an American Metal Society convention in the Underground Mall Convention Center, and they decided to open it by hanging a metal bar on 2 pieces of wire. And the point was that the mayor was going to ceremoniously cut the bar with an oxyacetylene torch. And so they outfitted him in a welder's outfit, the helmet, and the whole deal. And he's there with the torch, and he successfully cuts through it, but a spark flew up and it caught the front part of his hair. Now, I don't know if he used Brill cream or whatever else, but it caught fire. And somebody in the audience patted it out quickly. He wasn't severely injured. We would try to get it patched later on. The point, though, with that is that it made the news all over the world. And I have a personal recollection because I was at a convention that fall, 1972, an archivist convention of all things in Columbus, Ohio. And I had a little program there, and a guy came up. He was an archivist from Australia. He asked me where I was from. I said, I'm from Cleveland. He said, oh, we saw your mayor's hair on fire in our local newspaper. And so it went as far as Australia. And that, of course, followed by 3 years, the last fire on the Cuyahoga River. And Ralph Burke was an incredible guy. He was a true ethnic politician. He was a Republican elected in a Democratic city, followed Carl Stokes. And it was it was part, I guess, with the great the backlash that was coming up at that point that drove votes to Nixon in Washington, and also got Burke elected. But he was able, the city was losing revenues to maneuver money from Washington into the city. And he's often looked at as sort of the consummate ethnic mayor because he was of Czech descent. And he was out at every ethnic picnic you could see, eating sauerkraut, sausage, or whatever else. He was a man of the people. And there's a lot of fun made of him because of sort of that persona, but that's who he was. He served 3 terms, and and the jokes go on is that they were invited to the White House, the Nixon White House, and they couldn't go because his wife had her bowling night. That's what was announced. So that, and that's a deeper story than that. But he did leave a legacy. He regionalized helped get the Cleveland CTS into Greater Cleveland Regional Transit System, and he also got water and sewer regionalized. So he began a process that we've been fighting for ages, and that was good for the city because he just didn't have the revenues. You needed to share revenue, so he was struggling to get the city out. Yeah.
John, I appreciate the information because obviously a little bit of a younger person at the time. And obviously we heard about Ralph Burke because of the hair catching fire, but it's good to know that and great to hear that he kind of took things in stride. The whole thing happened, but it didn't affect him as he moved forward as mayor. And in all honesty, as you talk about it, were there other things that he did and accomplished as mayor that maybe others didn't?
Yeah, I think basically he helped us. And some people will claim that he neglected the deficit and the money issues, but he held the city together for the 6 years that he was here. But and then he was replaced by Dennis Kucinich. So you get another ethnic mayor who was followed by George Voinovich. So you have 3 people of Eastern European background, and it's kind of this period in the 1960s and 1970s where ethnicity was becoming very popular, and Ralph fit that. He quit high school, and then he went to he got his degree by going to a correspondence school, and he worked as an ice delivery man and whatever else. Grew up, and he lived in the house on East 49th Street in what is now Slavic Village. That was his house, right across from the freeway. It was easy for people to make fun of Ralph Burke, but for many people, it was a shock to have a Republican mayor at that time because we were solidly Democratic. Yeah.
Well, surprise, surprise, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So we went from hair catching fire to the whole city defaulting. Boy, that was a tough time to be a Clevelander, I suppose.
Yeah, the loss of Cleveland population in the 1970s was more a hemorrhage than a loss, really. That it really bled population.
All right, John. Well, the infamous mayor's hair catching fire long before Michael Jackson got on stage and had that happen during that infamous commercial.
Yep.
I guess we were the trendsetters in that aspect.
Yeah, we sure will. You know, we did Balloon Fest in one of our interviews, so there was another trend that we got onto, but flopped.
Yeah, we really know how to pick them, right, Ken?
That's right. We
Yeah.
certainly do.
Yeah.
All right, John. Hey, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Ted, one of your favorite segments. We were out and about Northeast Ohio, spending oodles of cash on drinks and food.
Mm-hmm.
And that game that I play for maybe an hour and a half to 3 hours twice a week, where I just scream at a little white ball. This past week's adventures, we ended up going to Panini's in Westlake, Buckeye Beer Engine, went to 2 different golf courses, Ridgewood Golf Course with actually one of our fantasy football friends, Tom Dank, and a couple friends at Ridgewood Golf Course. Had a nice time. Boy, they've really done a nice job with that course. They're working on a new clubhouse, but do an outstanding job. And I had 2 rounds at your favorite, Bobolink and Avon. One round was great. The other round, I could have taken my clubs and thrown them in the water. I think I had 18 shots out of the sand. And, oh God, it was brutal. It really was. It was work. It wasn't fun.
But, were all these games played with Aowen?
Oh yeah, that's my main golfing partner, and she actually played really well the first time as well. This past time it was okay, but she did not get as frustrated as I did. So, but yeah, the out and abouts. Just when you work, unfortunately, you just don't get out as much as you do. But
no, well,
that's what I have. How about for yourself, sir?
Well,
And I threw in a couple Guardians games too. I saw 2 Guardians games. Actually, went to a day game where I took my kids. It was a lot of fun. Let me just tell you, some of those day games during the week, people turn it up, man. They're hitting it hard. I'm not gonna lie. I heard some interesting language. Some guy accused me of throwing a hat at him, which obviously I wouldn't do that. And by the time that 7th or 8th inning came, the people were, well, as you mentioned in the previous segment, they were waddling all over the place. So that's my out and about. How about yourself?
Well, I speaking of work, I had a work-related event that I went to Orlando for, trade show down there. So went to Orlando, was there for 3 days. Yeah, I think it was 3 days, and went to the show. Went to Disney Springs one night with other coworkers, and we ate at the Planet Hollywood that's there.
Oh, nice.
Our other 2 eating options while we were there were a local Mexican restaurant, and then the other restaurant that was chosen was the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, that's a fan favorite of you and your wives.
Well, I said to those in my group, I said I drove 16 hours to go to the Cheesecake Factory, huh? But yeah, so did that. Had a good time. Not a whole lot else. A lot of baseball games, and been to a couple movies. I know we talked about Transformers. Went and saw that again. We like that, so we saw that a second time with our cousins. Haven't seen The Flash. Went on what was that website that I told you about? Common Sense Media.
Yes.
You talked when we were there the last time we were on, talked about some of the language in some of these movies.
Yeah.
Well, Common Sense Media said that there was some pretty strong language in The Flash, and so we bypassed it. And I don't know if you've seen any of the box office reports, but I saw one this morning that said that who is it? DC, I think, is the ones that
Yes.
put that one out.
Yes.
They would have lost this report suggested they would have lost less money if they made the film and didn't release it. In other words, if they didn't bother to market it, they would have lost less money.
Wow. That's
So,
crazy.
I don't know. It's but yeah, we went to we saw Transformers, I'm assuming is doing pretty well. I mean, my 2 cents is I'm going to a movie to be entertained.
Yes.
Keep the politics and the swearing out of the movie, and
Yep.
everybody will be fine.
Yep.
Everybody will be fine.
Especially when you're talking about kids. Adults,
Right.
different story. I understand it and all that stuff. But yeah, for kids, I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
completely
doing a
agree.
drama that's specifically about some, something, okay, I get that. But you don't need that in kid movies. So that's my 2 cents. By the way, do you know, speaking of superheroes, you know what the difference between Iron Man and Iron Woman is?
No.
Well, one's a superhero and the other's a command.
Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, he's here all week. Well, Ted, great, outstanding out and about. Thanks for supporting your local businesses. I know we'll have more here 4th of July. I'll be doing a DC trip for 4th of July. This will be different. So I have an out and about for that. And I imagine I'll find another pub or facility to continue with my obesity. Continue to be out and about.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Time for more Cleveland sports history, and we move to June 28th, 1946, which was a big year for the Browns, but we're talking about the Indians in this particular one. Our sports expert, Dusty Sloan, joins us, and Dusty, this is significant because the Indians added permanent radio play-by-play of all their games on June 28th, 1946. It's kind of a big deal.
It is kind of a big deal because back then we didn't have podcasts, we didn't have internet, we didn't have a whole lot of TV, and this was how you got baseball games out to the general public, and it was WGAR with Jack Graney in 1947, and obviously the great Jimmy Dudley thereafter, and obviously it changed people, it changed networks, obviously it begot Herb Score at some point, Joe Tate, and then obviously on to what we hear now with the great Tom Hamilton, and what we hear on WTAM all the time. But again, back in the day, that was how you got your team's games, is you listened to them on the radio, and then you used your imagination to kind of get the games into your head as far as what might have happened based on what you heard. So that was a very big deal back then.
It certainly was. It was basically the way that you saw the game, because literally, I know many of our younger listeners won't believe this, but nothing was on TV. They didn't have games on TV or anything like that. That did not exist. So I guess my question, Dusty, obviously very historical time. I guess as we move to the future, I mean, right now with the advancement of live streaming, all these different apps, I know certainly people my parents' age will still listen to the radio, still listen to games, but are we ever at a point moving forward where we won't have games on radio anymore?
That's a great question, Ken. And I think that you would love to say that all newspapers are going to be around forever. Well, that may not necessarily be the case. With radio, it depends on the person. Can you imagine the Cleveland? There's going to come a day when the Guardians aren't going to have Tom Hamilton. So is that the impetus where now you're doing something else? I think you're always going to have a radio type broadcast, but it may not necessarily be on a radio station. You'll have it on your phone. You'll have it on an app, things like that. So I think that type of broadcast will always exist, but it may not necessarily be in the form we're used to.
I think the TV might be some questions there, depending on if Bally Sports can write some checks.
Well, and that's the thing too. Now you're going into streaming services and things like Peacock, where NBC's got games every Sunday. So yeah, I mean, who would have thought that we'd have things like TikTok how many years ago? So who knows what's on the horizon?
I do know that you've listened to a lot of Tom Hamilton, Dusty. I know he's one of your favorite announcers. Is there a particular call that you remember the most from Tom with with some of the games he's called and things like that? One memory you have that's comes to the top of your head?
I think for a lot of people, it's you will have an October to remember, because we know that back before 95, there weren't many Octobers to remember. And we got, unfortunately, robbed of the opportunity to potentially have one in 94 with the strike. So, yeah, whenever you hear Tom Hamilton say you will have an October to remember, that's when things get really good. Now, the jury's still out on the 2023 version, whether they're going to have an October to remember. But let's see if that actually comes to fruition here in a few months.
They have to remember how to hit first, don't they?
It's starting. We're starting.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right, Dusty. Well, talking about back when radio first started for the Tribe. Thanks for your time, Dusty.
Appreciate it, guys.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Ken, we have some overachievers, and you're not one of them.
Oh,
sorry.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. A retired Sri Lanka army soldier went in for surgery on an obstruction, a kidney stone. This stone was bigger than Kanistas Kughi's kidney, it turned out. Well, it turned out to be a world record sized stone. This stone measured about 5¼ inches long.
Oh, man.
It weighed 1.76 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
The gentleman is doing well in his recovery. I just want to keep in mind that when you think about that, the smaller stones, you know how guys pass those, and for that matter, women. Just keep that in mind when you're 5¼ inches long and almost 2 pounds.
Obviously, that wasn't passed. That was removed.
No.
So, yeah. I might have trouble with the next story because I'm still thinking about the previous. But we'll fire on here. In Spain, this one's a little bit better. A man who holds several world records has added another. Christian Roberto Lopez Rodriguez. That might be the longest name I've ever seen in my life.
That's a record.
Is that
for
the world record?
name.
Christian Roberto Lopez Rodriguez wore 2.76-inch stiletto heels and ran the 100 meters in 12.82 seconds. The previous record was 14.02 seconds, set in 2019. That is moving pretty good at 12.82 seconds.
Now, what are you more surprised by? The speed that this guy got, or the fact that there was a previous record for this?
I think that probably both.
Okay.
I'm still stymied by the name. It's almost like he's in witness protection. So,
yeah.
Wow, what a story that is. 12.82 seconds and 2.76-inch stiletto heels. Are you going for that record?
No.
Okay,
No.
you're good.
I don't want to break my ankles.
You could have the record for most likely not to do that.
There you go. I cannot believe it's July already, or I guess it will be in a few days. But the year is cruising right along, and so Jen Brasdovich from Destination Cleveland is back with us. Jen, how's your summer?
Summer is good. Those calendar pages seem to flip a little faster once we get to the warm weather months, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Well, what kind of things do you have on your calendar for the month of July?
Oh man, what don't I have on my calendar for the month of July? Summer is heating up. There's plenty of events happening around Cleveland this month. Of course, fireworks for 4th of July right around the corner. So next Tuesday night, if you're looking for a way to celebrate the 4th of July in an authentic Cleveland way, what could be better than fireworks over the water? So Light Up the Lake is back again this year. The annual spectacular begins at sundown. It's about probably about 10 o'clock, and it lasts about 20 minutes. So Downtown Cleveland Inc. is hosting a free family-friendly watch party over at Voinovich Park. That starts at 5 o'clock. So there's going to be a DJ, some kids activities, some food trucks, all sorts of cool stuff. And that'll wrap up right around 11 o'clock once those fireworks are over. And of course, all of the entities around the lake will have plenty of ways for you to watch. Good Time 3 is hosting a watch party. Of course, if you head downtown over to the flats, there's great viewing locations there. So a lot of different options for you to watch the fireworks over downtown Cleveland this 4th of July. And then one of my favorite things this summer, it's, one of those quintessentially Cleveland things that we have here in our area. And it is my favorite thing to do in the summer in Cleveland. And that is to visit Blossom Music Center for the Blossom Summer Concert Series out there. Of course, the Cleveland Orchestra has the Blossom Music Festival happening, but then there's also a variety of artists like Fall Out Boy, Jason Aldean, Foreigners having their farewell tour, and the orchestra has concerts for just about everyone. So they have their standard classical music. They've also got some cool favorites, like they'll be playing the soundtrack to Jurassic Park. They've got a Disney show for the families. And one of the cool things about that, when you head out there for the Blossom Music Festival, if you're going to see the orchestra, is you can bring in your own food and drink. So you can pack a picnic. This is what I do. I pack, some cheese, a bottle of wine, and just get there a few hours early and relax on the lawn, and then take in the concert with, one of the world's best orchestras right here in Cleveland.
I want. When are you going next? I'm joining you.
I'll let you guys know. We'll give you the
Okay.
calendars. I mean, and how many people can say that they've gone to watch an orchestra play in the center of a national park? So, I mean, that's pretty darn cool. And that, like I said, is something that is very unique here to Cleveland that we get to experience. And then if you are looking to get out on the water this summer, another one of my favorite activities, I've got my kayak ready to go for the summer. So Blazing Paddles Paddle Fest is back again. This is July 21st and 22nd, so the third weekend in July. It's all day, so like 7 a.m. until about 3 p.m., morning and early afternoon. So you can either blaze past your opponents, or you can take a leisurely slow burn and paddle on the Cuyahoga River. So this celebration really is a celebration of all things Cuyahoga River and the history and the heritage there. And aside from the paddling part, there's a live music festival, some food, a beer fest, all on the 21st. And a cool fun fact that we have here in Cleveland, our claim to fame, the Cuyahoga River was chosen by readers as the #1 best urban kayaking spot by USA Today last year. So you can get out there, get your kayak going. There's all sorts of cool multiple distance races that you can do, or you can just take a leisurely little paddle there along the river for Blazing Paddles Paddle Fest. And heading a little farther south of Cleveland, we have the Pro Football Hall of Fame Enshrinement Festival is back this year. It starts July 23rd and will run through August 6th. So don't forget about that if you are a sports fan. There's 2 parades, the first one on July 23rd, the Grand Parade on August 5th. There's a balloon classic with hot air balloons from the 28th through the 30th. And then finally, the football season will kick off right down there at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Village. The Cleveland Browns will play the New York Jets in the first game of the preseason at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. You guys, I'm going down there this week to check out all of the new improvements they've made down there. Just left and right. Every time you drive past the Hall of Fame down there, they've got something new adding. So if you haven't been there, I went there last summer, but if you haven't been there in even a year, there's going to be something new for you, because all of this stuff that I'm going to check out this week was not there when I was there last year. So I'm pretty excited to check it out, and I will report back to you guys. But for the sports fan in your life, the Hall of Fame Enshrinement Festival cannot be missed. And that's just about an hour south of here, so not too bad.
No, not at all. And I think the thing that's super exciting about the Hall of Fame, and thanks for all the information, Jen, this is a big year for us. I mean, how many times do we actually have someone from the Cleveland Browns being inducted to the Hall of Fame with Joe Thomas? So that's super exciting. Yeah. And yes, to answer your question, every time I drive by the Hall of Fame, it's something different going on. It's like a new football field, or, you know, they're building a hotel. I mean, they're really making that a huge spectacle. Yeah, I will say this.
Its own destination down there for sure.
Oh, for sure. By the way, I'm going to have to ask you this question. We're going to need some more food and dining recommendations if you have any. The last place you told me to go to, which was a coffee shop in Lakewood, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was awesome.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Well, I've got a few recommendations dialed up just for you guys. So since we're talking about July, we'll start with Fahrenheit. The restaurant that has been in Tremont for more than 20 years is actually moving right downtown Cleveland. So it's going to be at 55 Public Square. There's going to be a rooftop bar space. So that should be opening sometime next month. So you'll definitely want to check that out. It's been a Cleveland favorite for decades, and it's moving into its new home. But one of the other places that I cannot recommend highly enough is this really cool place over in the Hingetown neighborhood called Patron Saint. It's an all-day cafe. It opened last month in the recently restored Vitrolite building. So they're doing a lot of cool stuff over in that neighborhood too. And that whole building is just being completely renovated. It's been completely redone, and they're renting out space to yoga studios, and they've got this cafe, and they've got harness cycle over there. But this cafe is just so cool. It has coffee, it has cocktails, it is all day. So you can go there in the morning, grab your coffee, grab a pastry, grab a breakfast sandwich, and work from there for the morning. And then once it switches over to afternoon or happy hour, you can stay right there and get yourself a cocktail. But what they've done in the space is just absolutely beautiful. They've preserved a lot of the showroom elements that were there. It was actually previously a showroom for Vitrolite glass, and they've kept a lot of those showroom and design elements. So I cannot recommend it highly enough. I was over there with my coworker Nick a few weeks ago, and we went for the end of the day. So we did have a cocktail and a snack, and it is just absolutely amazing over there. The menu is great. The space is beautiful. So you can, get a cocktail there and then head over to Public Square and get dinner at Fahrenheit.
Jen, you know a lot of the places to have a cocktail, don't you?
It's one of Cleveland's signature things, isn't it? We like our beer, we like our cocktails.
Oh, it is. I agree.
I appreciate you clarifying that for us.
Coffee and cocktails. I'm your girl. I can tell you all the good places.
I'm glad you clarified that for us so that we're all on the same page there. So, all right. Well, I assume you'll be somewhere downtown watching fireworks on the 4th of July.
Oh yeah, I'll be decked out in my red, white, and blue, ready to watch the fireworks and just enjoy. Hopefully the weather will hold up and we'll have a beautiful day for 4th of July downtown.
And if the weather doesn't hold up, can we complain to you?
No, I would take that up with the meteorologist, the local meteorologist. I'm sure they're going to be happy to hear me say that.
Oh, but, yeah, that's boy. All right. Scott Sable from Channel 8 is a frequent contributor to our show. I'll be sure to pass your email address on to him.
Like I said, I've got the ideas. I don't have any control over the weather that happens as I give out the ideas.
All right. Ken, you want to get Scott on line 4? No, we'll do that another time. All right. Well, Jen, thank you for the information, and we will make sure we attend some of these events on the Cleveland calendar.
All right. I'll see you guys there.
The most trusted name in journalism, Klopp's Klips.
All right, Ken, here are the news items that you might have missed. I'm going to bring you up to speed on them. Protesters in Poland have gotten their way with a bus number they wanted changed. Some Christians complained to a local bus operator about bus number 666. This bus takes its riders to Hell, Poland. Now, that's spelled H-E-L.
Hell, Poland.
But it's pronounced hell. So bus number 666 was taking people to hell. The bus will still take riders to hell, but beginning June 24th, it'll do so as bus number 669. So there you go.
You really dancing with the devil there.
Change that around.
Never good.
A suburban Chicago man is facing charges after he apparently accidentally shot himself in the leg. The 62-year-old told investigators he dreamt that an intruder was breaking into his home, and during the dream, he found his .357 Magnum and shot at what he thought was the burglar. Well, turns out he shot himself and woke himself up from the dream. There was no attempted burglary, but the guy had a firearm, even though his state firearm owner's ID card was revoked. So he's in trouble for that.
Oh, my. Okay.
It's a follow-up story now on a story we told you a while back. You might remember this. The owner of an Atlanta auto repair shop in a spat with a former employee. The employee said that the shop owed him $915, So the owner dumped 91,500 oily pennies in the former employee's driveway along with a pay stub with an expletive on it.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, a federal judge has now ruled that the owner violated overtime provisions and the Federal Fair Standards and Labor Act. The judge has ordered him to pay 9 workers about 40 grand, which is about 4 million pennies. There you go.
Oh my.
Finally, we all know the dangers of leaving children and pets in a car in hot weather, but the National Weather Service in San Angelo, Texas, decided to demonstrate just how hot it gets. They put a tray of cookie dough on the dashboard of a car, closed it up, and 2 hours later, they had baked chocolate chip cookies.
Holy cow. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That's a good one. That's easy to remember.
It's hot. Sports. Here are some scores: 6-2, 5-1, 4-3, and in 11 innings, 2-1. I'm Ted Klopp. That's news to me.
Oh no, not a dad joke.
Ted, a buddy of mine got fired from his job at the bank.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, a woman came in and asked him to check her balance, so he pushed her.
That joke was horrible.
We are coming to the end of episode number 117, Ken. That would be Brian's site plus 100.
Yeah, I didn't even go that route.
Or wasn't Chris Gardocki 17?
Boy, I don't even remember.
Chris Gardocki was, and I think Jake Delhomme was as well during his long and storied tenure with our
leave him alone,
222 loss football team.
Yeah, didn't he hurt himself trying to make some kind of crazy play at the goal line, and then he was out most of the year.
Had that. You talking about Jake Delhomme? You talking about Baker Mayfield? Who are you talking about here?
Oh yeah, take your pick. Just like the old mixed bag.
Hey, my wife had her birthday.
Monday. Happy birthday, Mrs. Klopp.
Yeah. I don't want to say how old she is.
No, just 40.
So I told my kids over the weekend, I said, make sure you each make a card for mommy. Now there's 3 kids. How many kids do you think made a card?
Okay, let me see. I'm going to go with 2 out of 3.
Nope.
Oh boy. 1?
Nope.
Oh boy.
We're in the collar on that one.
We went over. Oh no. Oh no, Ted.
So we went after piano lessons, which by the way, we're not taking piano lessons, 2 of the 3. We'll add that to the
list.
Add that to the Uber route. So we went to Giant Eagle, got a cake, and they didn't have the digits that I needed for her age. So I made her 39.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like Benny Hill.
And got some other candles. We had candles. They picked out 2 cards, and then we had flowers. So we had all we needed.
You did great.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. I like the homemade cards. I'm a huge fan of that.
Should have seen the look on their faces when I asked them if they'd made cards, and they realized they hadn't. And then we needed to buy cards.
Yeah.
And then my son found a Mickey Mouse card that was $10. And I said, no, we're not buying that card.
That's too much. That's
a
crazy.
negative.
That's too much. I can't believe what some of the price of cards are.
I know. So yeah, we celebrated her birthday.
Congrats to Mrs.
birthday,
Klopp.
Mommy.
Enjoy 39 and holding. That's where she's at.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
That's it.
Perfect. Ted, want to make one quick mention before we close. Special thanks, and this is a group I think you remember. Remember Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Vaguely, yeah.
They sang a song. I think it's probably the most famous, called The Crossroads. They actually are getting a street named after them. Congrats to them. It's going to be on the intersection of East 99th and St. Clair. It'll be called Bone Thugs and Harmony Way. So congrats to them. Longtime artists, very talented, and congrats to those guys. And then in some other interesting news, remember the Eagle Bridge, the Eagle Avenue Bridge in the Flats? It's the bridge that goes up and down.
yeah, yeah.
Bridge, the one they're supposed to take that out next summer.
Wow.
As one of their projects, because I guess just from a lack of use, and I maybe just make it a little bit more regular road or something to that extent. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a lot of people up in arms about that. So,
well, how are you going to get
up to
across
date
them?
on that? You got to swim or do the running long jump. I don't know. You're gonna have
Either
to
one of
figure
those
it
would
out.
probably work.
Or go another way. Use another route.
There you go.
But yeah,
Follow the
a
detour.
couple other bridges are supposed to be taken down as well. And as we get more information, we'll let you know. So, Ted,
Well,
any
happy birthday to my wife. Happy goodbye to Eagle Avenue, and congrats to popcorn, soda, and Twizzlers. What is it?
Absolutely. And
Bone
just remember,
Thugs and Harmony.
Just remember 222. You
What's
won't
that?
forget that number. Amount of losses the Browns have had in the
Oh.
last 20 seasons. 222.
You know, it's nice that I get to talk to you. I haven't spoken to my wife in like 3 weeks.
Why is that?
I don't want to interrupt her.
Oh, you're classic. Well, Ted, we'll wrap it up here. Special thanks, John Grabowski, the historian, the Cleveland sports historian, Dusty Sloan, Colin Forgotch, making an appearance for us, talk a little Cleveland sports. We always appreciate that. And obviously, thanks to our listeners. But Ted, enjoy your 4th of July. We'll be talking after that. I want some full details. We'll be shooting off fireworks at all or no?
No.
Watching fireworks?
Maybe.
Do you guys take that in? Is it usually Cleveland Heights? Is that where you go to see fireworks, or Lyndhurst, or?
You know, I don't know that we usually go anywhere.
Or the television? You just turn the television
Yeah,
on. Somebody's got fireworks on.
Sure.
So,
What about you?
This year maybe a little bit different. We're going to be going to the DC area, so I don't know. I don't know if we'll go down to DC's. That's just insane for their fireworks extravaganza. But I think on the outskirts to spend some time with Awen and her mom and her stepdad, and the kids will be with me. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
Nice.
Forward to that. Well, Ted, until next time, just as a reminder for all our listeners and everyone listening, we're just two middle-aged men in Cleveland.
Two Middle-Aged Men in Cleveland is sponsored by Westminster AV, custom audio-visual packages for all occasions.